$34,000. That's what the average American couple spent to get married in 2025, according to the Knot survey of more than 10,000 real weddings. It's a big, round, intimidating number, and the moment people hear it, they picture it landing in one place, one check, one business, one very happy owner. It doesn't work that way. That 34 grand doesn't go somewhere. It goes everywhere. The same survey found that couples hire, on average, 13 different professionals to pull off a single day. 13. A photographer, a caterer, a florist, a band or a DJ, someone to make the cake, someone to alter the dress, someone to run the whole thing so nobody has to think. Each one takes a slice. By the time the money finishes fragmenting, no single vendor is holding anything close to the full amount. And the venue, the place everyone assumes is the star of the show, collects only a portion of it. A meaningful portion, but a portion. So let me reframe what a wedding venue actually is, because it's stranger than it looks. A venue doesn't really sell space. It sells dates. It sells a specific Saturday to a specific couple, and once that Saturday passes, it is gone. You cannot restock it. You cannot mark it down next week. Every unsold date on the calendar quietly expires at midnight and takes its revenue with it. To make this concrete, I'm going to build one venue and keep it on the table for the whole conversation. A renovated independent property, a ballroom, a ceremony lawn, some support space out back. Room for about 150 guests. Every number I hang on it is an illustration, my assumptions, not an industry average. So treat them as a model, not a measurement. And here's the promise. By the end of this, I'll tell you exactly how many weddings that venue has to sell in a year before the owner earns a single dollar. Not the first wedding, not the 10th. There's a specific number, and it's higher than you'd guess. Picture the property on a perfect June Saturday. The lawn is cut, the light is golden, 120 people are watching two of their favorite humans cry a little. Everything about that day looks like money. And it is. Now picture the exact same property on a Tuesday in February. Empty parking lot, cold ballroom. The heating bill still runs. The loan payment still comes due. The insurance doesn't care that nobody's there. Same building, same overhead, zero revenue. That gap is the whole business. A venue's inventory isn't the ballroom. The ballroom's always there. The inventory is the calendar, and calendar inventory is perishable in the most brutal way. A hotel can sell an empty room tonight or tomorrow. A venue can't sell an empty Saturday twice. When it's gone, it's gone. And the demand for those Saturdays is wildly uneven. The Knot reports that 76% of couples marry between May and October. Not spread evenly, concentrated. June and October each account for 16% of weddings all by themselves. December, 1%. So when people say a venue has 52 Saturdays a year to sell, they're doing the wrong math. Those 52 Saturdays are not worth the same. A June Saturday is precious. A late October Saturday is precious. A Saturday in the third week of January is a day you'll probably spend hoping the pipes don't freeze. The premium dates carry the whole operation, and there are only a handful of them. Which raises an uncomfortable question. If most of your money lives in a few months, what exactly are you doing the rest of the year? Let's follow the money before it ever reaches our venue. The average wedding in that survey had 117 guests, at about $292 of spend per guest. Multiply it out and you're back at that $34,000. But remember the 13 professionals. That number is the whole point, because it tells you the money was designed to split. The photographer captures the day and captures a chunk of the budget. The caterer, and 85% of couples hire one, often takes the single largest bite, because feeding 117 people well is genuinely expensive. The florist, the band, the dress, the suit, the alterations. The cake, the stationery nobody remembers signing off on. Each one is a real business with its own costs, taking its own piece. Here's the trap in how we perceive this. The venue appears to run the day. It's the backdrop of every photo. Guests will remember it as the place we got married. That visual dominance makes people assume financial dominance. But hosting the event and collecting the budget are two completely different things. The venue controls the room. It does not control the wallet. 89% of couples book a venue, so demand is real and reliable. The question is what specifically that venue gets to charge for. So let's stop talking about the whole $34,000 and start talking about the only slice our model venue actually touches. In my model, and only in my model, one booking pays $12,000 of recognized revenue. Let me break that apart, because it's two very different things stapled together. $8,000 of it is the date and venue fee. That's the pure sale of the Saturday. You're buying the room, the lawn, the hours, the exclusive right to that day. Clean and simple. The other $4,000, on average, is everything else the venue layers on. Running the bar, renting out the chairs and tables and glassware and linens, and coordinating the day so it doesn't fall apart. I want to be clear that these are illustrative prices I've chosen for one hypothetical property. I'm not telling you this is what venues typically charge. Your local numbers will look nothing like this. And here's the part that gets glossed over. Those add-ons don't just deepen revenue, they deepen work. That $4,000 is not $4,000 of profit. Somebody counts out 300 chairs and hauls them into rows. Somebody polishes glassware and irons linens the night before. Somebody orders the bar stock, ices it down, and eats the cost of whatever doesn't sell. Somebody takes the 11 o'clock at night phone call from a panicking couple. And when it's all over, somebody sweeps up cake off the dance floor at 1 in the morning. So every extra dollar of revenue drags a little cost and a lot of labor behind it. Which is exactly why the shape of the calendar matters so much. Demand piles up on the good dates, and there is nothing a venue can do to make more of them. You cannot manufacture another October Saturday. There are 4, maybe 5, in the whole year, and every couple in your market wants one. So venues do the only rational thing. They charge a premium for the peak dates and discount the rest. A Friday goes for less than a Saturday. A Sunday, less still. Off-season, in the dead of winter, you'll cut the price just to put a booking on the board and keep the lights earning. That's the central tension of the entire business, and it never resolves. Hold your price and protect the brand, and you risk a calendar full of empty premium dates that expire unsold. Discount to fill the calendar, and you're selling your best asset, a Saturday, for the price of a Tuesday. There's no clever pricing trick that escapes it. You're always choosing between rate and occupancy. And this is where the year I'm building starts to bite. In my base case, the venue does 62 weddings. 62. There are nowhere near 62 peak Saturdays. So the very shape of that number tells you the owner is already selling deep into Fridays, Sundays, and shoulder season dates, just to get there. The peak days are the easy part. The business is won or lost on all the ordinary dates nobody was fighting over. Now, if you've ever booked a venue, you know they take a deposit up front, often a big one, often a year or more in advance. And this is where a lot of owners fool themselves. Deposits exist for good reasons. They reserve a unique, unrepeatable date so the venue can stop selling it to anyone else. They fund working capital. The venue is buying and prepping for a day that hasn't happened yet. And they cut cancellation risk, because a couple with money on the table is a couple that shows up. But cash received is not revenue earned, and it is definitely not money that's safe to spend. When a deposit hits the account, the venue hasn't done the work yet. It still owes that couple a fully delivered wedding, maybe 14 months from now. The staff, the bar, the setup, the cleanup, all of it still ahead. Couples plan far in advance. The venue collects early and pays late. Spend that deposit like profit, and you've quietly borrowed from a future you're still obligated to deliver. There's a reported example that shows how this can go sideways. In a 2025 interview, an operator described a venue project where deposits were coming in before the place had even opened, while it was still under construction, and while the build itself was running badly over. That's one operator's account, not a pattern, and I'm not claiming it's typical. But it's a clean illustration of the danger: money in the bank, obligations not yet met, and pressure everywhere, which points at something bigger. You can fill that calendar. You can sell every Saturday, work every deposit, and run a genuinely busy venue. And it still might not be enough, because even a full calendar can't rescue a property that was financed badly underneath it. That's where we go next. Picture a renovated property worth $2 million on paper. A ballroom, a ceremony lawn, support spaces, room for about 150 guests to celebrate. Now watch how that $2 million actually gets paid for, because this is where a lot of dreamy venue math quietly falls apart. In our illustrative model, the owner puts in $500,000 of their own equity. The other $1.5 million is borrowed. Price that loan at 7.25% over 20 years, and the monthly payment lands around $11,856. Round it out across the year, and you're looking at roughly $142,000 in debt service. Every single year. Before a single couple says, "I do." Let me be clear about what that number is and isn't. It's a model, not a loan quote you could walk into a bank and get today. Rates move, terms move. Underwriting is its own adventure. This is a teaching example, so treat it like one. And here's a real financing detail worth knowing. An SBA 7A loan can be used for real estate, buildings, working capital, equipment, and fixtures up to $5 million, all subject to lender underwriting. So the tools to build a place like this genuinely exist. The catch is that the building doesn't care whether you had a good season. The property never stops billing. Which brings me to construction, and a warning worth one sentence of respect. In one reported operator case, a wedding venue project originally budgeted around $1.5 million, finished closer to $2.7 million. One case, not a benchmark. But if you've ever renovated so much as a bathroom, you already feel where that story is heading. Budgets have a way of growing when the walls come off. So let's run a single wedding through the model and see what one Saturday really produces. Recognized revenue for the event, $12,000. $8,000 of that is the base venue and date fee, and about $4,000 is the average stack of add-ons: bar, rentals, coordination. Now the costs that only exist because the wedding is happening. Event labor for the day, $1,650. Bar inventory and consumables, $700. Cleaning and laundry afterward, because 150 people leave a mark, $300. And another $550 for incremental utilities, card processing fees, and vendor costs that scale with the event. Add those up and your variable cost is $3,200. Subtract that from $12,000 and you're left with $8,800 of contribution. Now, here is the part I need you to hold on to tightly, because it's where people fool themselves. That $8,800 is not the owner's profit. It's contribution. It's what this one event kicks toward the enormous pile of bills that exist whether or not anybody got married that day. Miss this distinction, and the whole business looks like a fantasy. Get it, and you finally understand how venues actually live or die. And don't let the tidy numbers hide the human work. Somebody walked the couple through 3 tours, answered 40 text messages, built the floor plan, chased the caterer, staged the ceremony chairs, and then reset the entire room at midnight while the newlyweds drove off. For national context, not the wage in our model, The Bureau of Labor Statistics reports a median wage of about $59,000 for meeting and event planners, work that regularly spills past 40 hours and swallows weekends. That's the shape of the labor behind one beautiful evening. Now let's talk about the money that leaves the building on the days when nothing is happening at all. The Tuesday in February, the rained-out week in March. The venue is still expensive when it's empty. So start with that debt service, $142,000 a year. Then the salaried core team, the people who answer inquiries, run tours, and keep the operation breathing, $150,000. Property tax and insurance, $65,000. And insurance on an event property is not cheap, because you are literally hosting champagne and dancing near open flame. Marketing and software, $40,000, because the couples who booked you 2 years from now are searching right now. Base utilities, grounds, and repairs. $55,000, since the lawn keeps growing whether it's booked or not. And then a line that separates serious operators from hopeful ones. A capital maintenance reserve of $38,000 a year. Here's why that reserve matters, even though the roof hasn't leaked and the HVAC still hums. Those systems don't fail politely on a slow week. They fail in July during a heat wave, 90 minutes before a ceremony. The reserve is you paying calmly in advance for a disaster that hasn't arrived yet. Skip it, and one bad August turns a good year into a loan application. Total those fixed cash costs, and you land at $490,000 a year. And notice what's not in there: the owner's own labor and income tax. So whatever's left at the bottom is not a paycheck, and it's not passive. It's a number that still owes the owner their time and the government its share. Now let's live through 3 different years, because the same venue can feel like 3 completely different businesses depending on the calendar. The week year, 40 weddings, $480,000 in revenue, $352,000 in contribution. Against $490,000 in fixed costs, the residual is negative $138,000. That's not a bad quarter, you shrug off. That's the owner writing personal checks to keep the doors open, lying awake, wondering if the marketing spend was wrong or if the whole thing was a mistake. 40 weddings sounds busy. It isn't enough. The base year, 62 weddings, $744,000 in revenue, $545,600 in contribution. After fixed costs, a positive residual of $55,600 before owner labor and income tax. That's a functioning business. It survives. But $55,000 before the owner pays themselves and before the tax bill is a thin, careful kind of success. One nervous glance away from trouble. The strong year, 78 weddings, $936,000 in revenue, $686,400 in contribution, and a residual of $196,400 before owner labor and income tax. Now the owner can breathe. Now they can rebuild the reserve, actually take a salary, maybe fix the thing they've been ignoring. Same building, same lawn, same ballroom, 18 more weddings between quiet and comfortable. So here's the answer I promised you. How many weddings does this venue actually need before it earns a single dollar for the owner? Take $490,000 in fixed costs and divide it by $8,800 in contribution per wedding. That's 55.68. Round up because you can't book .68 of a wedding, and you get 56. 56 weddings just to reach 0. The base year sells 62, which means the entire cushion, the margin between surviving and sinking, is 6 weddings. 6. And that cushion is fragile. Nudge the price down. Let the event mix drift toward cheaper weekdays, refinance at a higher rate, or let fixed costs creep. And those 6 weddings can widen into breathing room or evaporate into nothing. It cuts both ways. Now think about what a single cancellation really costs. A couple calls off a prime Saturday in October. That's not just one missed party. In this model, one wedding is roughly 1/6 of your entire base year cushion, gone in a phone call. 2 unreplaced cancellations erase 1/3 of that cushion before anything else goes wrong. So what is this business really selling? Not the chandeliers, not the lawn at golden hour, not even the ballroom, gorgeous as it is. It's selling confidence. Confidence that one irreplaceable date, the one printed on the save the dates, the one both families already circled, will actually work. There is no rescheduling a wedding the way you reschedule a haircut. The whole enterprise rests on getting one day exactly right, over and over, for strangers who will only trust you once. That's why the best operator doesn't behave like someone who owns a pretty building. They protect the calendar like it's the only inventory they have, because it is. They price the scarce dates, the October Saturdays, with a straight face and no apology. They create demand on the quiet Fridays and Sundays without cheapening what the marquee dates are worth. They keep construction and debt on a short leash, because that $2 million basis is unforgiving. And they never, ever treat a deposit like free money, because that cash belongs to a promise that hasn't been kept yet. Which brings us all the way back to where we started. $34,000, the average a couple spends on a wedding. It's a real number, but it was never the owner's cut. It scatters across 13 vendors, and the venue only ever holds one slice of it on one date that can never be sold twice. The building never stops billing. The calendar never refills a lost Saturday. And the owner's real cut isn't the celebration. It's the narrow, hard-won margin between a full year and an empty one.